بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. Respected dear teachers, we'd like to welcome you to this webinar in which we will be discussing the Islamic curriculum. We hope that inshallah this webinar proves to be beneficial for all that have attended and for all teachers that will watch. Inshallah, in the next slide I will go through what is going to be our agenda for the next hour, and we will also then mention what to do in case of any technical difficulties that we might face along the way. So on today's agenda, we've got the heart of the teacher, in which we will be discussing the ethos underpinning the Nasihah way, the way in which madrasa is to be a fun and engaging place to be for a child, and a place to remember and have fond memories of. Then we will move further on to having a look inside the Islamic curriculum itself, and then taking an overview of the syllabus chart. Thereafter looking at the workbooks, the Surah and Dua books, and then we will have an example lesson inshallah, which is what the teachers have been looking forward to. Quite many teachers have been asking about this. It's about how to embed this Islamic curriculum within their madrasas and how to teach it in the best manner. And thereafter we shall have questions and answers near the end of the program, inshaAllah. Along the way, if you have any questions, the number is on the right hand side at the top. Please do send it via WhatsApp or SMS. For those that are listening from abroad, you may WhatsApp us, inshaAllah, or you may send an SMS on that number. That's 07414044561, and inshallah we will answer those questions at the end of the session. Now, without taking further time, I'd like to inshallah pass it on to our respected principal of Madrasa Nasihah, Maulana Yahya, and who was also a driving force behind the Nasihah Islamic curriculum.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Inna alhamdulillah nahmaduhu wa nasta'inuhu wa nastaghfiruh wa na'udhu billahi min shururi anfusina wa min sayyiati a'malina. Man yahdihillahu fala mudilla lahu wa man yudlilhu fala hadiya lahu. ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن سيدنا ومولانا محمدا عبده ورسوله. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. With love and respect, let us send salutations upon the Prince of Mankind. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كلما ذكره الذاكرون وصل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كلما غفل عن ذكره الغافلون. قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم: إن الله وملائكته وأهل السماوات والأرض حتى النملة في جحرها وحتى الحوت ليصلون على معلم الناس الخير، وكما قال حبيبنا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. Our beloved Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, indeed Allah, His angels, the inhabitants of the heavens and the earth, even the ant in its hole and the fish in the sea, say salat, send mercy, make dua upon the one who teaches the people to do good. Upon the teacher, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends mercy, the angels, and His entire creation. Dear respected teachers, let us understand our status when we walk into that class. Think and stop for a moment. reflect on this notion that at this very moment in time, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has privileged me to such a level that He has commanded His creation to send mercy on me, to pray for me. This reflection will help us appreciate the great favor of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala upon us. The reward has been established, inshaAllah. Would it not be great if you could combine this virtue with exceptional results and fruits? With just a little motivation and planning, we can see extraordinary things happening. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, وَالَّذِينَ جَاهَدُوا فِينَا لَنَهْدِيَنَّهُمْ سُبُلَنَا وَإِنَّ اللَّهَ لَمَعَ الْمُحْسِنِينَ. Those that strive in our path, we shall most definitely open our pathways for them. This is a promise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that efforts will surely bring results. Respected teachers, the Islamic curriculum has been developed for two key reasons: to engage and to ensure retention. Let us take a look at the first point. If we can understand the ethos of Nasihah, if we can share the same mindset, the same platform, then insha'Allah the help of Allah will be with us. For indeed His Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam has said, Yadullahi ala al-jama'ah, Allah's assistance is on the group. The key to engaging pupils is love. Love is the answer and love is the key. I want to share with you a very moving anecdote of a teacher who once lived by the name of Miss Aisha. It was a practice of this teacher that every day when she would enter the class, she would say, I love you all. And each day she knew in her heart that she was lying to herself. For there in the corner, sitting in Miss Aisha's class, was a boy by the name of Tariq. Disheveled, unkempt, untidy, with a lack of motivation. She knew that her love was not for him. And each day as she entered the class, she began with a question, selecting Tariq to answer, knowing he would not know the answer, using him as an example of lack of effort, lack of results. Time went by, the term was coming to an end. Any chance, any opportunity Miss Aisha received to give an example, a negative example, she would use Tariq's name. The class would laugh. The reports were sent out to the head teacher. Miss Aisha filled it with all her negative comments in regards to this young child. The head teacher sent back to Miss Aisha Tariq's reports of year 4 and year 3. Sitting in the class of year 5, Miss Aisha opened his previous reports and was shocked. She saw end of year report, year 3, Tariq is an exceptional student, a first class pupil, sure to challenge the world, sure to make a difference. Year 4, first term, excellent pupil. Second term, Tariq is deteriorating. Something has happened. His mother has been diagnosed with cancer. Please, someone help this child. Final term, Tariq is losing himself. His mother has just died. I wish the next teacher can save this child. Immediately Miss Aisha began to cry and realized that this child has a story behind him. He has a backstory that I was not aware of. The next day Miss Aisha entered the class, and this time, as her usual practice, said, I love you all. Again she knew she was lying, for today her love was specifically and only for young Tariq sitting in the corner. She began her usual practice of asking a question. Tariq bowed his head down as per his usual habit. After receiving no comments, no negativity from the teacher, he bravely, courageously raised his head to see his teacher smiling, beckoning him to come to the front. As he came to the front, Miss Aisha informed him of the answer and encouraged him to say the answer loudly. He declined. After many prompts, he said the answer. Miss Aisha said, MashaAllah, MashaAllah, and made the class say MashaAllah. And from now on, every day the teacher changed, from rebuking, taunting, to encouragement and praise. And slowly but surely, the days went by and Tariq began to answer without the teacher's prompts. The end of year came and Tariq received second position in his class. The presents were laid in front of the teacher from the class. A quickly wrapped paper sat there with newspaper. Miss Tariq hastened to open that, knowing it must be from Tariq. She saw a half-used bottle of perfume and a worn bracelet. She immediately applied the perfume, placed the bracelet on her hand. Tariq came to her and said, Now Miss Aisha, you look just like my mum. Now Miss Aisha, you look just like my mum. He moved on to the next year. Every year a letter would come from Tariq that Miss Aisha, I have seen many teachers, but I have not seen a teacher like you. Years went by. Miss Aisha retired. One day, she went to collect her post and saw an unusual letter, an invitation, a wedding invitation. It said that I cannot imagine to have my wedding ceremony without your presence, and I wish for you to attend. Love, Dr. Tariq. Miss Aisha was shocked. She looked forward to the day. The date arrived. Miss Aisha went and was surprised to see the city's top professors, medical experts, all standing around Dr. Tariq. As soon as Dr. Tariq's eyes fell on Miss Aisha, he hastened, held her hand, took her to the podium and said, Dear visitors and guests, you have been asking me for so many years about the mother I always speak about. Here, I want to introduce you to my mother, Miss Aisha. Dear brothers and sisters, respected teachers, look what a few words of encouragement and praise done to this young child. It changed his future. It changed his outlook towards life, from negativity to positivity. Rain and sun are to flowers as praise and encouragement are to a child's mind. All children need is a little help, a little hope, and somebody who believes in them. Rita Pearson, a teacher of 40 years, once heard her colleague say, They don't pay me to like the kids. Her response was, Kids don't learn from people they don't like. Children don't learn from people they don't like. So you're going to have a hard, long year, dear. Leave a legacy with our pupil. It's a connection. Teaching and learning should bring joy to everyone. Every child deserves a champion who never gives up on them. Is this a tough job? Of course it is. But we are not going to give up on our generation. I end with these words and hand over to my colleague, Maulana Muhammad Qasim, who shall inshallah come and continue the session on the Islamic curriculum.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد, to respected teachers, Alhamdulillah, we have with us the Islamic curriculum The books have been sent out to most of the madaris, and they should be in your hands and the hands of the children. Now, many of the teachers have asked by calling in at various times, and they've asked by emailing in a number of questions. And what I'm going to try to do, inshallah, is I'm going to try to answer those questions through this presentation that we have. After which Maulana Yahya Sahib will come back, and inshallah he will take us through the example lesson. So I'm going to leave him some good time. So let's get straight onto this, inshallah. So I look inside of the books. For those that didn't get a chance to come to the launch event, we have just one course book and one workbook. The course book, it starts from book 1 and all the way till book 8. We've got two book 6s. We've got book 6 boys, book 6 girls, and the masail for the boys are separate and the masail for the girls are separate. And we will look at the age ranges in the next few slides, inshallah. And every course book has a workbook, a corresponding workbook. The activities in the workbooks are related to the topic that is being studied in the course book. And all the topics that are there in the course book, they are kept together. So the whole of fiqh will be together, the whole of ahadith after that, the whole of seerah after that, the whole of tarikh will be after that, and the whole of aqaid after that, the whole of akhlaq after that, and the whole of adab at the end of it. So all the topics, the subjects are kept together, so that if Monday was fiqh, the next Monday all the children need to do is just turn back one page and they'll be able to see what they studied last week, rather than having to flick through half the book to find where the last week's lesson might have been. So it's been all kept in this order. It makes it flexible for the teacher, so the teacher can then arrange the lesson in the manner that they see best fitting to the students. So if they want to teach half a page, 1 page, or even 2 pages, then it's up to the teacher. If there's talented students in the classroom, then it might be possible to go through one whole side or 1.5 sides. And if there are children who need some more support, then it might be easier for the teacher to go through half a side. So it's a flexible approach. And as mentioned, there are these 7 subjects all in one book. So the whole course book is just one book, and the whole workbook is just one book. 2 books the children will carry for the entire year, inshallah. So the 7 subjects, they're here once again in front of us: fiqh, ahadith, seerah, tarikh, aqaid, akhlaq, and adab. Now, just looking at the timetable and how to organize the timetable for the madrasa, many madrasas have asked for this. This resource is already available on our website, and those that have placed their orders already, they would have received this email with a link to this resource. We have 3 different flexible timetables that we have suggested. Now, this is not engraved in stone. Obviously, the teachers can change this according to their own needs and however they feel and see best for their madrasa. So we've got a flexible approach here and a flexible timetable. This is a weekly one. We have Quran obviously every single day, and then fiqh, we spend a good amount of time on fiqh just to make sure that the understanding of the students is strong in their fiqh. So it's going to be weekly. Every week children will be studying fiqh. Then fortnightly we have on Tuesday. Every Tuesday we have aqaid 1 week and surah the other week. Now this obviously the subjects can be changed around however you want, but just to show how to fit them in. So the Surah and Dua Book also fits into this timetable, which we will be talking about in a short while, inshallah. So we've got aqaid and surah now 1 week each. Then on Wednesday we have seerah and tarikh 1 week each, and then we have hadith 1 week and dua the next week, and then alternating. And then after that we've got akhlaq and adab on a Friday, and they again alternate on different weeks. Now we've got this second timetable. I was speaking to a teacher just last week, and the teacher had mentioned that they preferred this sort of a method, and there's many others that have mentioned this also during the launch events, how they prefer this method. What happens in this method is chapter based. So in the chapter we've got the whole chapter which is covered, the whole topic is covered, rather than the whole subject. So the subject is fiqh, and in there will be small sort of chapters. So for example, there will be wudu, there will be tayammum, so chapters inside. So fiqh, again, weekly, just to make sure that lots of time is spent on making sure that the students have understood the fiqh properly. That again is up to the madrasa. However, moving on, there will be Tuesday, aqaid, one chapter will be completed. So a whole topic inside of the aqaid, the subject will be completed. And then after that, move on to a hadith, finish off one chapter there, and then go back to aqaid. So that way, the students have a variety, and they are going through one whole chapter, understanding it, answering questions about it, maybe sitting a test, a little assessment for it also, and then going on to the next part. And then same with Seerah, a whole chapter is done, and then Tarikh, the whole chapter, and then back to Seerah. And then we've got Surah and Dua. So Surah and Dua, we've got one Surah fortnightly, and Dua again fortnightly. So the week after will be Dua, and then following week would be Surah again. Then we've got Akhlaq, one chapter, and Adab, one chapter. Thereafter, we've got the third suggested timetable, and this timetable is subject based. This is preferred by some. It makes it easier to manage, and many times children find it easier to follow also, where a whole subject is covered for half the year, and then the exam is done at mid-year for that subject, and then after mid-year till the end of year, the second subject for that day is covered. So Tuesday, aqaid, the first half of the year, aqaid is covered, and the second half of the year, ahadith is covered. And the exam for aqaid is done at the mid-year, and the exam for ahadith is done at the end of the year. Wednesday, Seerah, Tarikh, and then Thursday we've got obviously Surah and Dua. Surah and Dua, we want to make sure that the students are learning those on a regular basis. So this will be fortnightly, and then we've got Akhlaq and Adab. So this is a suggested timetable that you may follow. You may amend it, you may edit it as you wish. This resource is available on our website, inshallah. We'll be sharing a link to it in the coming few days, inshallah. So now let's take a look at the subject overview. Subject overview of the fiqh. Let's look at fiqh, the whole of fiqh. Every year, there will be certain things that the children will be studying using the spiral approach. Children will start off learning the absolute basics. Now, if you have a book in front of you, you can turn to page number 18. Page number 18 is where this is. Page number 18 to 23 is where the full syllabus chart is. Before actually we're going on to the topic, we will look at the guide age range. We've got book 1 to 8 as mentioned. Book 1 starts from 6 to 7 years old. This is when they get onto their amma. So in the qaida years, they do one half of the qaida and the second half of the qaida in 2 years. And during that time, they will be studying the Surah and Dua Book. Very simple duas, and just one or two surahs they will be memorizing. But when they get to 6 years old, which is year 2 in school in the UK, they will be starting course book 1, where they will have some proficiency in reading. They will need support of the teachers. So at the first stage, the first book, teachers would need to support their children more than the elder children moving forward into the other books. C2, which is class 2, would be 7 to 8 years old. C3, 8 to 9 years old. C4, 9 to 10 years old. C5, 10 to 11 years old. C6, we have boys and girls here. We've got 11 to 12 years old. This is when they're in year 7. Certain masail that are related to boys are covered here in the boys book, and then the masail that are related to the girls, they are covered here in the girls book. Now, some of the masail, for example, with regards to maturity, have been also mentioned briefly, very briefly, in book 5, in C5. And the children would be able to then, inshallah, have a bit of knowledge of that also when they are 10 to 11 years old. Then we've got C7, which is 12 to 13 years old. And we've got C8, which is 13 to 14 years old. The subjects, we start with something which is very basic, very simple for the children to learn. So the Shahada, the Salah, the Sawm, the Hajj, the basic introduction of the 5 pillars of Islam, the method of wudu. And then building on that, we're looking at Tahara. It still carries on, so wudu, ghusl, and then wudu in detail with the faraid, etc. Salah carries on from the next year, C3. We've got the full Salah actually starts in C2 at the bottom, if we look at their method of Salah for boys and girls. If I put the pointer on, hopefully we'll be able to then follow easier, I think. So we've got the method of Salah just there for boys and girls. And then we've got C3, we've got the rakats of Salah, conditions of Salah. So we've taught them the basics of Salah just to make sure that they actually are going to pray the whole Salah properly and they're not going to be jumping things. Even the method of wudu, we teach them the full method of wudu rather than just teaching them the faraid, etc. Because what children tend to do, as we would know, is that they just do the faraid, they just do the few things that they think are necessary. So they'd learn the full Salah, then they'd go through the different things in Salah and also different types of Salah. So witr, Salatul Musafir, Salatul Marid. And then we've also got things to do with Salah in the 4th year. We've got Sajdatul Sahwa also to do with Salah in the 4th year. And then moving on, different types of Salah. We've got Salah of Masbuq, Qada Salah, Eid Salah. Just like that, it carries on. Jumu'ah Salah in the 6th year, building on from what they have learnt in the previous years. Obviously, there are new topics also which are covered. For example, Tayammum comes. Tayammum comes before also here in C2, which is very basic, very brief. And then they go into detail in C5. And there are types of water which is new in the book 6. And then when they get to the elder years, we've got Nafal Salah, Nikah, we've got Talaq, we've got a list of Maharim, we've got Buyu, things like that are covered. And then Taqleed is also covered, the different schools of fiqh and the importance of them, etc. This is all covered. This is the overview, and inshallah you can have a look through that with good time. Look through the fiqh, look through the ahadith, look through the surah, look through the seerah, etc. All these subjects are there in front of yourselves from page 18 till page 23. Now, the essential part of this slide and what to mention here is the spiral approach, where we've been building on what they have learned in the previous year and then increasing their knowledge as they go along. Now moving on to the workbooks. We've got, with every course book, we've got a workbook. The workbook consolidates the learning of the child. What they have studied in the course book, we need to make sure that they have retained it. One of the main key features of the Nasihah curriculum is that we want to make sure that the child retains what they have learned, rather than putting lots and lots of information in the minds of children and then having them forgetting what's been learned. We want to ensure that they learn all the information that is needed and they also retain it. So that's why we have the workbook. The workbook is quite important for that. It has different sorts of activities, different types of activities, which will target different types of learners. Those of us that were there in the launch event, it was mentioned about the different types of learners, the auditory, visual and kinesthetic learners. Now, we've looked at those different types of learners and developed activities in order to target them and to keep them engaged within the lesson. And then we've also used Bloom's taxonomy. Bloom's taxonomy is a well-renowned method of assessing children's performance and trying to make them understand things better. So we've started from the bottom and going upwards as they grow older, as they get into the higher books, they are challenged at their level. Even in the course books, the language level is not so simple that it's baby language, neither is it so difficult that the children won't be able to understand it. There will be words which they will need to find out the meanings of. That's the essence of what they are doing in madrasa, they are learning. So they will be challenged at a level which they will inshallah be able to cope, and they will increase their understanding for the next year, for the year after. Just to mention as we go along, if you do have questions, obviously the number is there on the top right hand corner. Do message as we go along. The questions will be answered at the end of the session. If there are any technical queries as well, please do be patient with us. and do send the messages in so that we can take care of those issues as we go along. So looking at the workbooks, we've got No to Racism, for example. We've got a simple activity just in the back over here. We've got an activity where the children will be matching, so there's numbers at the beginning of each of this half sentence. They will put the same number, the corresponding number, into the bottom 4 here to complete the sentence. So a simple activity which the child is able to then put together and understand what they have learned from the course book. Then we've got another activity here. This is from the hadith section, obviously. So we've got the hadith here, إِنَّكَ لَسْتَ بِخَيْرٍ مِنْ أَحْمَرَ وَلَا أَسْوَدَ إِلَّا أَن تَفْضُلَهُ بِتَقْوَى. And then the translation for them to complete the small spaces. And then we've got a little coloring activity. These are little children, and coloring and creativity is part of their life, is part of what they do. And we want them to understand that people come in all shapes and sizes and colors. So we've got a picture of the hands, and they will color that in, and they will be understanding that. There's guidance for this or in the teacher's book also, inshallah, where the teachers will be able to work on this. This can tie into the anti-racism or say No to Racism week, and the children can be made to understand that we're not better than anyone unless in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we can never know of that. So this is a simple activity for them. Then we've got these activities are to be done, I should mention, are in the classroom. So we want to do the course book in the classroom and also the workbook in the classroom. But we do understand that not every activity can be done in the classroom. There might be certain activities that are more suitable for the home. The resources might be found at home maybe also for that. And it is good to get the parents involved with some of the activities. So we've got the activity for Islam is easy. This is about having a balance in life, and Islam being the factor that brings the balance in our lives. So this is an activity where you get a hanger, you put hang two things off a string on either side of the hanger, and then they are told to then discuss a few things about life being balanced and making a balance in life, I should put it that way. Now, so it makes them think, it makes a discussion, it's a discussion starter, and from there the teacher can then, inshallah, progress on and then talk about how Islam makes life easy for all. Then we have certain activities such as this zakat activity that we have. It requires calculation, it requires mathematical skills. So literacy and numeracy has also been embedded. It helps the children from what they've learned in school. It's also reinforced in madrasa. And many of the Islamic schools have also taken this syllabus on board. So it also helps them throughout. And it's calculations. It makes them think. It makes them build on those skills that they have learned. Then again, we've got another calculation here showing their working out. So this is the workbooks. This is how the workbooks will be throughout. There will be different types of activities as we go along. They'll have a title, inshallah, and those activities will be corresponding to the course book itself. Now, as we move further on, we've discussed the course books, we've discussed the workbooks, we've looked at the syllabus overview. We've got the Surah and Dua Book. The Surah and Dua Book, many have had this question and many have asked, so it is only right that we answer this question whilst everyone is listening, inshallah. We've got the Surah and Dua Book. The Surah and Dua Book is split into two parts. We've got the 1 to 4 and then we've got the 1 to 8. Why the difference? You can see the right hand side, it says complete 1 to 8 syllabus. Obviously the left one is 1 to 4. In 1 to 8, 1 to 4 is included. But what we found and what guidance we were given by senior teachers was that children find the 1 to 8 book chunky and heavy to carry. Along with the course book and the workbook, they would find it quite heavy to carry as part of their kit for madrasa. So that's the first reason. And the second reason is children at a young age, they tend to rip their books, they tend to lose their books. So we made a separate book for them, a 1 to 4 book in which there's F1, F2, which is Foundation 1, Foundation 2, and then there is C1, C2, C3, and C4. So class 1 to class 4. This corresponds to the course book years, which we have just looked at a little while ago. All of this will be as part of the complete 1 to 8 syllabus, this book that we have. When they get to year 5 or the class 5, they will have the full book in which they will be able to look back at what they have done. So they won't have the excuse that I've forgotten my book at home, or I've lost it, or I don't have it. They have it in front of them and they are able to then revise it. At the back there's a revision tracker which we will go through in a few moments, inshallah. So this is the full Surah and Dua syllabus. This is also found at the beginning of the Surah and Dua chart, Surah and Dua book, sorry. If I just zoom into it a little bit, we've got Surah Al-Fatiha starting from the beginning, very small, F1, and then in F2 we've got Surah Al-Nas, Surah Al-Falaq, Surah Al-Ikhlas, and then they go to C1 and they start obviously learning more surahs. And then the kalimas go along, so we've got the first kalima and then the second kalima in the second year, and then the third kalima in the second year also, fourth and fifth kalima in the third, which is C1, when they're 6 years old. So they've learned 5 kalimas by the age of 6. And then Iman Mujmal, Iman Mufassal is covered by when they're 7 years old. And the rest of the du'as, simple du'as that they will be able to practice on as well, inshallah. One thing that the teachers might have noticed is that we don't have all the surahs from the whole of Amma in the Surah and Dua book. We had a consultation with many ulama, and the ulama did mention that making children memorize all the surahs is not the best of ideas if they're not going to become a hafiz, because many of them will never ever use those surahs, and many of them will forget them, which is not what our aim is in madrasa. We want them to remember the surahs and use the surahs. So alhamdulillah, after a lot of consultation, we came to a decision of taking it to Wadduha, and then from Wadduha, then there are these certain ayat and certain surahs which have virtues attached to them. Surah Yasin, Surah Al-Mulk, Surah Al-Sajda, we have the last few ayats of Surah Al-Baqarah. So these are mentioned also, and these are in the Surah and Dua book. And then at the bottom we see the 99 names of Allah. As they go along, they'll be learning some names of Allah across the 8 years, inshallah. The format of the Surah and Dua book, we've got an example here in front of us. Surah and Dua book starts, there's a surah, it starts with surahs, and then after that, after half the book is duas. In the surahs we've got the translation. We do not have the transliteration. I'm sure many of the teachers will know and would remember their children in their classes. They learn and they memorize the transliteration rather than the translation. So we've left the transliteration out and we've kept to the translation only, so that they know what they are reading and they can inshallah learn those. And under each line there is, and under each ayah I should say, there is a line here, a white line, which can be used to mark the mistakes that the children are getting. So a tajweed mistake, for example, or maybe it could be a ghunna or an ikhfa, or it could be a letter which they're reading wrong. So it could be circled, it could be a code could be developed to put down according to what the teachers have. So again, flexible approach where the teacher uses the existing code rather than having to adopt a new one. At the bottom here, we've got a little box here which the teacher will fill in, a little signature or a sign or something to say that this surah has been learned, or this page has been learned. A tick there, or if they haven't actually memorized it, so you don't sign, neither do you tick, you put an R, which is revise. So they go back and revise it. So we know that they've been through it once, but they need to revise, they need to go over it, and then they can go over it again, and inshallah it'll be ticked and signed after that. With the du'as, this is some of the du'as which we have just selected to show in this presentation. Du'as from the sunnah after every salah. There's the du'as, there's the hawala, there's a reference for it under each of the du'as, and the translation for it. And then as you see, under each du'a there is this box here which is used to mark whether the du'a has been learned or not. At the end of the Surah and Dua book, we've got a tracker, and the tracker allows the teachers to mark whether the children have been through this. If they've been through it, the teacher will make it a sign on it, put the date on it, and it would be done many times over the year. So this is just one side of the page, and there's the other side which needs to be filled. So over the course of the year, they would easily go through it over 10 times in revision on top of what they have already learned. So whilst they're using the Surah and Dua book, they would be able to fill this out, and they'll be able to then track that this revision has been done and it's been kept up to date, rather than just saying that it's been done, and children making children making it out that they have actually revised it. And that brings us to the end of this part of the presentation, in which we look inside the books and we understand what the books entail. And inshallah, now I'll give it to Maulana Yahya, and Maulana will go through an example lesson and how to deliver, how to best deliver a session.
Jazakallah khairah to Maulana Muhammad Qasim for the insight into the actual books. Okay, I think we've had a nice long session, so let's begin with a little brain teaser, an activity to get all our minds refreshed. You have 25 seconds to work out what this says. No questions and no clues. Okay, let's have some keys to some of the letters now. Let's try now. Any answers? Right, now we try the full key. Okay, the correct answer you should have is aspire to inspire. Now the purpose of this exercise, as you may have realized, is for us to understand that the minds of the children are growing minds, and they cannot expect to know what is being expected of them without the success criteria clearly being laid out in front of them. We need to fully explain what the task is we wish them to carry out, and the goal along with the path that must be taken. Unfortunately, many of us tend to say words like, work it out yourself, no questions, just get on with it. Each lesson needs to be structured, planned, and prepared to the ability and level of the child. The famous saying is, if you fail to plan, then effectively you have planned to fail. Let's look at a typical lesson. What are its components? Every lesson should have a starter, a body, and a plenary. The starter could be a recap of the previous lesson. It is there to stimulate the pupils' minds, to prepare the ground. It can be from something simple as writing a letter on the board and asking pupils as they walk in to say or write a word beginning with a letter in relation to the topic of study. Let's say, for example, we write the letter B, and the children are learning about wudu at basic level. So the children will say Bismillah, one of the sunnahs of wudu. This has started their mind process. It stimulated their thought. It could be writing some key words and asking pupils to construct simple or complex sentences according to their age. For a class 1, 6-year-old, we could use simple words such as Allah, clean, love. Pupils can then construct their own sentences such as Allah loves it when we are clean, or Allah loves it when we clean ourselves. Lots of ideas can be found for starters. Inshallah, we'll try to put some ideas of these starters on the teachers forum. Then we begin by writing or reading the learning objectives. The learning objectives can be found at the beginning of every chapter. We can see on our screens here. At the end of this unit, pupils should be able to, let's take a look at the first one, state the conditions and method of using the khuf. So we read this and ask the pupils to think what they feel the learning objective is about. Brainstorm their thoughts on the board. Or ask pupils to write the key questions they have in their mind on some post-it notes. Questions they want to know about this topic. These slips can then be placed in a hat or a small tub. At the end of the lesson, pupils can pick out their own or their peers' slips and see if they are able to answer the questions they had at the beginning of the lesson. This will serve as self-evaluation for the pupils and create a baseline for us, the teachers, to base the subject matter on. Once the learning objectives are done, begin reading the main body of the text that you have decided to teach on that particular day according to your lesson plan. Split the paragraphs up through mild discussions, questions and answers, your own explanation and examples. Once you have covered the material content and have ensured that they have understood, move on to the corresponding pages of the workbook. Move around, check and advise. Marking can be then carried out through peer-to-peer assessment, or the teacher can take the books home to mark. Give constructive feedback. Once the workbooks are done, extra activities can be thought of. We have, alhamdulillah, prepared teachers' books 1 to 4, course books 1 to 4, teachers' books, alhamdulillah, has been prepared and designed. It is going through the editing process at the moment, and inshallah we hope to have these printed and available for delivery at the beginning of October. So we have a look at a simple layout of the teacher's book. So you can see on the left hand side corner the teacher's tip. We have the resources that you will need. Something called home links. Ask the children to tell the story of Ibrahim alayhi salam to their families at home. Connecting madrasa to home. The sunnah pedagogy on the right hand side. The sunnah method of teaching. How Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam was a muallim. What kind of skills did he use? So we can see here, even when Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam knew the answer, he used to still question the companions. An example of the date palm tree. How Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam asked that there is such a tree with such and such qualities. Can anyone tell me which tree it is? We have the three main body parts of a lesson. The learning objectives, introductory activity which are starters, teaching activities and suggestions, practical activities, explore further. So inshallah there shouldn't come a chance in the class where the pupils are left free. Now comes the plenary, the summary. So we had the starter, then the learning objective, the main body, followed by extra activities, the workbooks, and now the plenary, the summary. The plenary is there to summarize, to consolidate the children's learning just before they leave, to concrete everything. Quick questions to each pupil to summarize the lesson. Put pupils into small groups and ask them to discuss the lesson. Thereafter select a pupil to come and explain the lesson to the class. As a leaving activity on tayammum, let's say, pupils on their way out could point towards objects around and outside the class, citing which object tayammum can and cannot be done, along with the reasoning. Let's take a look at some other exercises that can be taken place in the class to ensure pupils are always being challenged and take it to the next level. We have something called the brain breaks. You could prepare a box with different physical activities. If you feel the children are tired, need a little break from learning, rather than sanctioning, let's make them pick a stick from the brain breaks. There they could pick up and do a physical activity to refresh, to replenish their mind, increase the blood flow and rejuvenate their minds for the next session. In our madrasa, we have an activity at break time that the younger children carry out, in which they need to pick up apples from an imaginary tree. So they're going up and down and see how many apples they can pick up in the space of 5 minutes. We have the wonder wall. The world is your oyster. The more you think, the more you plan, the more, alhamdulillah, your learning journey with your pupils will be enjoyable and fun. Pupils will come and stick some post-it notes. I wonder how to perform salah correctly. I wonder what Masah al-Khufayn is a word that I picked up from my course book. And throughout the term, they could pick up their post-it notes once they have the answers. In this tub, we see some colorful capsules, an activity called the challenge capsules, wherein the teachers could place in different activities, different questions, different challenges according to ability, and place him in the capsule. If you feel a child has finished all his work, the workbook is complete, ask him, Muhammad, can you please select a blue capsule and carry out the activity? It's fun, engaging, and motivating. We have the beach ball exercise. Questions which could be rubbed off, written down, spun in the classroom. Whichever side comes to the child, he needs to answer that question. A Jenga block activity. Maybe we could use this as a end of year revision session, where blue, red, and green, according to difficulty levels, children could pull out blocks and answer the questions or discuss a subject matter to the class. The more we think, the more Allah will open the doors. Like we said in the beginning, وَالَّذِينَ جَاهَدُوا فِينَا لَنَهْدِيَنَّهُمْ سُبُلَنَا وَإِنَّ اللَّهَ لَمَعَ الْمُحْسِنِينَ. I want to end the session with a radio interview that took place with a young child. In Scotland, the island of Muck, we have some, mashallah, Scottish attendees today with us. And the island of Muck were looking for a teacher. So, the pupils were asked, what do you see an ideal teacher to be? And this is what a 7-year-old child said. I want my teacher to be fun, imaginative, and happy. I want my teacher to be fun, imaginative, and happy. These 3 skills, if we can bring into our lives, make our lessons so engaging that the children count the hours until they can come back again the next day. I end with these words, and may Allah allow us to be instrumental individuals who shall make a difference. There are those that watch things happen. Some wait for things to happen, whilst there are those few who make things happen. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين. Inshallah, we shall have a few minute break, inshallah, in which you can send your questions to this number on the top right hand side of the screen, and inshallah we should be back to answer your questions and end with dua.
There have been some questions with regards to the recording, so that the teachers that have not been able to attend from the madrasas are able to, inshallah, watch it. Yes, we do have a recording. We will be sharing the recording out. Once the session ends, we will, inshallah, go through the recording and we will be sharing it out. So please do check your emails for that within the next couple of days. Please do send your questions in on the number that is on the top right, 07414044561, and we'd like to thank you all and say Jazakallah khairah for attending today's session. Please do provide us with your feedback. Please do provide us with the questions that you may come across from the students, and so that we may, inshallah, make the curriculum better. And any resources that you may make for your students, please do share it. We will, inshallah, upload it to the teachers forum. We will have a facility for the teachers themselves to post those things on the forum, so that the teachers are able to manage their own resources, they are able to post their own resources. We will have that facility ready very shortly. Some of the resources have already been placed underneath the coming soon sign. They will be put up higher, inshallah, within the next few hours. We'll take a few minutes away, inshallah, of the computer. Please do send your questions in. We'll be back with the answers in just a few minutes. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We're back once again just to, inshallah, answer the questions it is 10 o'clock and we are only going to take approximately 4 to 5 minutes to answer these questions, hopefully. Any follow-up questions, please do message it to us, and then we will inshallah go through those messages and answer the messages directly. So we have some questions here, Maulana. Inshallah we'll start. Okay, it's telling me to start, inshallah. So we're going to start about examinations. Many people have asked on messages that you haven't mentioned anything about exams. Inshallah we'll have central examinations. How will it work? We will produce the exam papers centrally by Nasihah, and then those madrasas that would like to take part, inshallah we will send emails out to all the madrasas that have taken the curriculum and syllabus. Those that want to take part, inshallah, they will be given a exam paper via secure link, which they will be able to print themselves. The marking will be done by the teachers at the madrasa. The exam papers will be prepared by Nasihah, inshallah, and this will be the end of year exams.
The mark scheme will be provided by inshallah Nasihah publications.
Then we've got another question here about
Book in stock.
Are the books in stock? Yes, the books are in stock. Alhamdulillah, we've got many books available now. So if you do place an order, I think leading on to that Tajweed book and the Madrasa Planner, you can go on our website on nasihah.com and see those books themselves as well. Some people have mentioned that there's no Tajweed book in this as part of this curriculum. We do have a separate Tajweed book that is very short, nice and fun and engaging for the children, which we've had for a number of years. There's a Madrasa Planner for teachers to keep in contact with parents, Salah Tracker in there, a bit of basic fiqh also for children, and also there will be attendance and a regular communication with the parents through that planner. And there's a Hifz planner also. All of those are in stock, alhamdulillah, so you can place your orders via the website nasihah.com/order-form.
There's a question here about the teacher's book, that can we start the curriculum without the teacher's book being present? Yes, alhamdulillah, you can begin the course books and the curriculum. For everything that you need is in the course book. We have the learning objective, we have the assessment criteria along with the workbook that accompanies each course book. Inshallah, teacher's book samples have been shown here today in today's presentation, and more samples will be put up inshallah on the teachers forum throughout this week. And inshallah, once a teacher's book comes out, then you can begin using it. It just has extra ideas, extra activities that we can engage the pupils in. The internet is full of different ideas, like the brain breaks we had. If you go on websites such as Pinterest, you can find all these kind of activities that are available for us to use and make our children's learning more engaging and motivating.
Talking about the forum, many questions coming up about that. The forum, the access has not been given yet. That's because it's not fully ready. Inshallah, we'll be having it ready very soon. It's actually ready, but we just haven't made it public. Actually, we'll put it that way. It'd be more understandable. We're just uploading some resources on our part, and then inshallah we'll be sending out the logins for the people. And on that forum, we'll have the different activities which will be posted by ourselves and also by the teachers themselves.
So we want to create a community spirit where we can inshallah upload different resources. If you do a nice lesson, you have a nice start idea, you have a nice body idea for the lesson, then please upload it onto our teachers forum so all of us can share and create a community spirit where we can inshallah use each other's resources and make the children's learning much more inshallah fun and engaging.
That's fine. Assessments inshallah will be done. The formative assessment is done through the workbooks as they go along. The teachers can obviously do their assessments at the end of every chapter. A chapter, what we mean with chapter, is in fiqh. Fiqh is a subject. Under there will be chapters of wudu, there will be chapter of tayammum, so there will be chapters inshallah. The end of chapter test can be prepared by the teachers if they need to, but the assessments can be done by the workbooks anyway. And then the summative assessment will be the end of year exam inshallah. And I think that answers all the questions that have been sent out. There's quite a few questions coming in still, but unfortunately we don't have the time at the moment to answer them live, but we will be messaging you inshallah. We have obviously your numbers, so do continue messaging. The number is right there in front of you. And just once again, if there's any other questions, you can email us via our website. If you'd like to place an order, you may place an order via going to nasihah.com/order-form. And if you'd like to call us, you may call us inshallah between 8:30 a.m. and 12 p.m. inshallah, and we will answer your questions, or during the evening times. Jazakumullah khairah.
Subhanallah bihamdihi, subhanakallahumma bihamdika, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.